happy Monday. It is probably like 8 o'clock at night, so I wanted to just get this vlog started. Let's see here. I am reading two things right now. The first one is Stalking Jack the Ripper. I started it last night. I think I'm about 68 pages in. So this one is a fantasy romance book. I don't know much about it because the blurb is not super helpful, other than the main character seems to eventually fall in love with Jack the Ripper. We follow the main character, whose name already escapes me because it's first person. But she is apprenticed to a mortician, her uncle, so she helps him with autopsies and stuff like that. And we have just found the first two victims of Jack the Ripper. So her uncle and her uncle's student are basically investigating these murders from a scientific standpoint. Our main character is a well-to-do woman. Her father is some sort of count, baron, something like that. But he is also very protective of her because her mother died of disease at a young age. She was also sick with that disease, so he's like very germophobic, that kind of thing. I'm not very, like I said, I'm not very far in, so I don't know much. I'm not loving it yet, but I think that just might be because it's the beginning of a book and I never get really into a book until about halfway through when I start getting attached to characters. So yeah, not much more to say about that right now. The second thing I am reading is a reread of The Eye of the World, which is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. It is basically a 15-book epic fantasy series. It follows the chosen one trope. So we start out in a small village called Emond's Field, and we are at a Beltane festival, and basically beasts called Trollocs attack, and three boys are whisked away by mysterious strangers because the Trollocs seem to be targeting them. It's really hard to explain Wheel of Time because it's such an epic scope, but that's basically where we're at. I am loving this reread. I am about a third of the way through. I'm on page 220. And I just love seeing these characters when they're babies, because I have finished the whole series before in the past. I probably read it almost 10 years ago, probably 8 years ago. But it's so interesting to see them as babies. I did watch the adaptation, so it's cool seeing kind of the differences between that and this book. And it's just interesting to see like certain choices are made, and it's like almost frustrating because I'm like, I know who to trust and who's good and who's bad, but obviously these people don't. They're just starting out, so it's really interesting. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm so excited to be back in this world. But yeah, that is where I'm at. So happy Monday. Okay, happy Tuesday. God, it's only Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, friends. I'm running incredibly late for work, but I am doing this thing this year where I pack my lunch instead of eating like a gremlin. So, let's see here. What did I read last night? I read more of Stalking Jack the Ripper. So I'm not sure how good of a job I did at describing that book. Basically, there are two victims of Jack the Ripper, and now there's a third, and they're all horribly killed. And the only description on the back of the book is something like, Jack the Ripper's stalking London, and I'm in love with him. It was very, I know three things, Bella thing. I don't actually know anything about Twilight, but I've heard that quote. And I just don't think that the main love interest is actually Jack the Ripper, because I just don't understand how we would come back from that. Because, like, I'm all about a morally gray character that murders people. But I like the murder to have, like, a little bit of a reason, which kind of sounds psychotic coming out of my mouth. But, like, these women just were, like, completely eviscerated for what seems like no reason. And I don't understand, if he is Jack the Ripper, how anyone's gonna forgive him for that, unless it's some sort of alter ego they defeat or something. Because I keep mentioning, they definitely want you to think that the main love interest, because they keep talking about how he shuts off his emotions and all this other stuff, and they have medical background. But I'm just guessing every single other person, because there's just no way to come back from that. I don't think it's a spoiler, because I don't know anything about this book, but that didn't work at all. I think it's the brother. It could be the dad, but that seems too obvious of a choice, and not as, well, I guess she's emotionally attached to him. Not as emotionally taxing for me. But yeah, so I'm only about 100 pages in now, but I'm still enjoying it. It's cute. I don't think it'll be my favorite book of all time. We'll see by the end if I'm still, you know, singing that praise, but yeah, so I think I'm gonna listen to more Wheel of Time on the way to, sorry, I meant to bring my AirPods home and I didn't. They're at work, so hopefully the wrestling's not too much. But yeah, so I'm gonna listen to more Wheel of Time to and from work. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye. Okay, we are going to try, first of all, we're gonna take off our watch, because every single time I've noticed it like zooms in and out because I talk with my hands. So we are gonna try with headphones in, because I'm not sure how the audio quality is. Okay, so I left myself a little marker of where I was. So I was on 218 and now I'm on 265. So I read like 40 pages of The Eye of the World. I am still loving my reread. One thing I've noticed this time round, and I know everyone says that this book is a derivative of Lord of the Rings. Like, that's what The Eye of the World is known for, that the first book, maybe two, is basically Lord of the Rings, and then it breaks off, obviously, into its own series after that. I never really noticed that. I've read the first book twice, and I never noticed that the first two times, and I don't know if this is because the first couple times I read it, I was reading a lot of fantasy from this time period, which, at that point, they're all derivatives of Lord of the Ring, I feel like. This is what, like 90s fantasy, maybe 80s. Or because I didn't know the Lord of the Rings story that well. But now that I do know the Lord of the Rings story, I do see how like certain hints are Lord of the Rings like. So specifically, I just read the part about Shadar Logoth. I don't actually know if that's how you say that, but that's how I say it. And the way that Shadar Logoth like was created reminded me a lot of Rohan and Wormtail and that kind of thing, and how the advisor whispered in the king's ear and that kind of a thing. Yeah, so that part was really interesting, and I like seeing those parallels. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I do. I think it's fun when you see parallels like that. Let's see here. I'm kind of sad right now, because up until now, so like quite a big chunk of the book, it's been kind of setting up everything. So all of our characters are together. They're still like naive little Emmons Field people, and obviously Moraine and Lan are there, but like it's just like they're still a group. They're still, you know, farm folks, shepherds, that kind of a thing from a small town. And now that we're done with Shadar Logoth, our group is kind of split up a little bit, and I won't say why or what happened or anything like that. I think that doesn't cause spoilers, but I'm just sad because I know how splitting up and what happens next and how our people change. And don't get me wrong, like some of them change for the better and all of it is great character growth, but I'm like, they're still like their baby selves and I love it. And I'm just so sad that they're like not going to stay that way. And obviously that would be boring if they stayed that way for 15 books, but yeah, so that is my update on Eye of the World. I didn't read obviously any more of Jack the Ripper since this morning. I don't really have a chance to read at work. I just get to do my audiobook to and from work, which is what I'm doing Eye of the World on. And it is Tuesday night, so my roommate and I do this thing every Tuesday night where we watch a movie together, and usually we pick a part of a franchise. So I think last thing we did was a bunch of Studio Ghibli movies. This time we're doing Quentin Tarantino movies. So we've done The Hateful Eight and Pulp Fiction is the one we just watched. So I think we're going to do that tonight, which means those movies are so long that I'm probably not going to have time to read tonight either. But yeah, that is my Tuesday night update. Hi guys, happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday night. I promise I do go places besides this one spot, but this happens to be where my like stand has been sitting, so that's where I've been sitting. Pardon the appearance. I just got back from the gym. I'm not really a gym person. Before Christmas, I was going in the morning because there's a new I recently moved and there's a new Planet Fitness by me that I joined. But I haven't been had the motivation this year to get up in the morning. So I went after work today and holy cow, I'm never doing that again. There were so many more people. So hopefully tomorrow morning when I'm warm and sad that I have to get up, I remember how many people there were. Okay, so let's see here. Reading update. We'll start with Eye of the World. So I read about 100 more pages. I'm now on page 360. I'm still loving this. I don't know. I love this reread, especially this book. It's just so good. Let's see here. Perrin. I love my Perrin boy in the beginning. He gets so annoying later, but him and Egwene are making their way. They just met a character called Elias, who I had totally forgotten about. And the traveling people who are kind of like gypsies. I don't actually know if gypsy is a not okay term. Let me know if it is. I don't ever want to use the wrong term. But yeah, they're traveling people. They travel around. They have colorful clothes. They have a non-violence. They're pacifists. It's called the Way of the Leaf, which is kind of a cool thing. But yeah, there's just one part. So up until everyone split off, it was from Rand's point of view. Now we're getting other people's point of view. And the whole time Rand always talked about how good with girls Perrin was. And now that we're from Perrin's perspective, he keeps talking about how Rand would understand because Rand is so good with girls. And I just love those cute little boys. They're adorable. Rand and Mat and Tom are traveling together, and something just happened with Mat, and it's like I know what caused like what that like the ramifications of what just happened to him, and I'm just not ready for it. And again, it's hard not to do things without spoiling, especially because I do know what happens because I have read these, but I still love Mat. I still love Rand. I think Perrin's probably my favorite right now. We're also getting Nynaeve. I don't remember I pronounce her name Nynaeve. I know that's not right. My parents call her Naive. She is traveling as well. We haven't gotten much from her perspective. It's weird because I am listening to these on audio and it's the same narrators that do Stormlight. And up until we got Naive's, now I'm calling her that, perspective, we only got the male narrator. And I didn't notice, I think it's Michael and Kate Redding. I think Michael, I didn't notice like the same. I wasn't like, oh, that he uses that voice for this Stormlight character or whatever. But now that we got Kate's voice, it sounds like Shallan to me, and it is a little bit taking me out of the story. I think the more we get her narration, the more I'll get used to it for this story, but that's one thing I noticed there. But yeah, so I'm loving it. It's great. Yeah. And then I wasn't feeling, I think the last time I was reading the what is that? Stalking Jack the Ripper, I think it's called. And I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know what it is. I am not, other than Eye of the World, which is a reread, I wouldn't say I'm in a slump because I'm still reading, but nothing is like hitting that spark for me. I don't know if it's because I just finished a new Brandon Sanderson or what it is, or if I'm just in a mood, but I wasn't feeling that. So my friend lent me Desperate Measures, which is by Katie Robert. It's part of the Wicked Villain series, so it is, I don't know what classifies something as erotica, but I feel like this is erotica. It is a retelling, and this follows Jasmine and Jafar, and Jasmine is the son of, so in this world, they're like in a city, and there's like different crime bosses, and basically the different villains are different crime bosses. So Jasmine's father was a crime boss. Jafar had a coup and basically took over from her father and claimed Jasmine as a prize. So I read one other Katie Roberts series. I read the first two in the Dark Olympus series, and I liked those a lot more. I feel like those were like 50%, you know, spice, 50% story slash love story. And this one feels more like 30% love story, 70% spice, which is fine. I know a lot of people like that. I'm finding as I read more and more of these, I tend to like the like cutesy romance more than I tend to like the spice. But yeah, I'm pretty far. I'm 120 pages in. It's a really short book, so I'm definitely going to finish it, but I don't think I'll finish on with the series. And then after that, I'll probably go back to Stalking Jack the Ripper, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm in like a weird mood because I don't want to listen to audio all the time, and I don't really like switching back and forth, so I don't really want to just focus on The Eye of the World, so I need to figure out what I want to read. But yeah, I am going for a game night tomorrow at my friend's house up in Denver, which is like an hour and a half from where I live. So I'll have lots of audiobook time for that, but not much regular reading. And then Friday I have a musical. I'm going to see Chicago. So yeah, there's not going to be much physical reading. So I guess that's good since I'm not feeling my physical books. But yeah, that is my update. Happy Wednesday. Happy Thursday. Thank God we're in the back half of the week. Another day where you just get to talk to me while I get ready for work because as usual, I'm late. I don't even know where you can see me. Let's see here. So I know that yesterday I was like, okay, here we go again. Sorry, I had to clean that. So I know yesterday I said I started Desperate Measures because I really wasn't feeling Stalking Jack the Ripper, but then after I finished making that update, I tried to pick up Desperate Measures and I was not feeling that. So I went back to Stalking Jack the Ripper and I ended up finishing it. I liked it. It was cute. I don't think it was my favorite book of all time. I won't tell you whether I was right or not on who Jack was. I don't know. I feel like I liked the book, but it was presented wrong to me. And I think that's the synopsis's fault, not the book's fault. And I did enjoy it despite that, but I wish going in I had known that it was more of a murder mystery than a romance. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's definitely fantasy romance. There's definitely romance in there, but the mystery element is really the like big part of it. So yeah, it was cute, kind of forgettable. I do own the second book, so I think I'll probably try it eventually. I don't think I'll pick it up right now. But yeah, I guess that's my total thoughts on it, is that it was okay, kind of forgettable, and the synopsis does not do it justice at all. I did like the Ripper elements. There was, I'll have to get the book and show you in the next clip, but there are pictures that accompany some of the chapter heads, and they're like actual pictures from the time of Jack the Ripper. So, and she incorporated elements of that. Like at one point, I guess, they still don't know who Jack the Ripper is, but they assume the guy who was actually Jack the Ripper sent this note. I think they call it the From Hell note. And it was like printed in the book. You could see like a copy of what the note looked like. And then she like incorporated it into the story. So later in that chapter, their Jack sent that same note. So that was kind of a cool element of it. But yeah, again, I have a game night tonight at my friend's house, which I'm really excited about. These are my college friends. I don't see them very often. And so I will listen to Wheel of Time on the way to work and then on the way to and from Denver, and I will give you an update tonight. But happy Thursday morning. Okay, hello, happy Friday. Thank God it's the weekend. I just got home from work, and I didn't end up driving with my roommate, so I was able to listen to some more of The Eye of the World. We just got out of the Ways, and we just got to the Borderlands. If you've read the book, that's kind of where I'm at. I
love the Emmonsfield folk and their like interactions. There was this one scene where, because so Rand and Egwene are not really, they're not in a relationship, but it was kind of assumed, you know what I mean? There's something between them. And while they were separated, obviously they met other men and women. And it's just like, you know, someone brings up someone that Rand met, and then Egwene gets all upset, and then, you know, Perrin like ribs her and be like, oh yeah, what about Aram or whatever. And then as soon as, you know, then Rand's all up in arms, then Mat ribs him about like some farm girl and stuff like this. And I just think it's like, it's so cute because, you know, it reminds me of when I was a teenager and when you did have a crush on someone and they had a crush on you, and how weirdly, you know, jealous you would get even though it didn't make sense, and how your friends would rib you. And I love them. They're so cute. The ways were really cool. I still really like them. They make me sad because it's just like the way they're described of what it used to be with grass all over or whatever. And if you haven't read the book, it's, you know, but it's just like, you know, we never get to see the time before. We never get to see either before or during the breaking of the world. We just get described, you know what I mean, all this stuff, and it just makes me so sad, all these things that have disappeared and all this, you know what I mean. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what happens with me and things like the ways and like monuments and stuff. I'm like, this is like sad because this time gone past and they'll never get that time back and all this other stuff. I think the only other two things I have is Nynaeve is so much more annoying than I remember her being. And I don't know if she just gets better later or if she stays so annoying, but like all the other Emmonsfielders do not like being away from home, keep talking about going home, want to go home, but they understand what's necessary. They understand what Moiraine's doing. They understand, you know, why everything's happening. But Nynaeve just refuses. She just constantly is like bashing every, you know, idea or path to take, but has no solutions of her own. She's just upset at the world or whatever. And I get she's supposed to be young, you know what I mean? Because she's supposed to be, it's kind of a weird dynamic because she's both the wisdom, so like the, you know what I mean, authority figure, but also she's young, so she has all those annoying traits. So I don't know, maybe she'll get better. Oh, my garage light went out. Hopefully you can still see me. And then Lan, I feel like in the beginning Lan was just kind of this presence. He was just kind of basically Moiraine's sword arm. He was there for Moiraine or whatever, and he was just her shadow. And now that we're getting to the Borderlands, and even like slightly before that, ever since we've met back up with him, everyone met in a group, I feel like Lan is like cracking jokes and coming into himself as a person. And in the Borderlands, since he's from the Borderlands, I feel like we're going to get more of his story and background and hopefully development as a character. So yeah, I am going to go get ready because I am going to see Chicago. So that should be really exciting. But yeah, happy Friday night.
Okay, happy Saturday night, everyone. So let's see here. What did I do today? Oh, I went and had coffee with my sister. Didn't end up reading at all. We mostly just talked the whole time. And I went and had dinner with my friends. So it was really nice catching up with them, talking, all that kind of jazz. And while I didn't read at the coffee shop, I did have a chance because I think I mentioned it earlier. I'm about an hour and a half away from my friends in Denver. So I had lots of time to listen to my audiobook. So I officially finished The Wheel of Time. And I absolutely adored every single minute of it. It was so good. I'm so happy to be back here. So it also turns out pretty much everything I remember about Wheel of Time is contained in this first book. So I could tell you like large story beats for the rest, but every like scene when you're like, oh, do you remember the Wheel of Time? I could be like, oh, I remember this scene, this scene, this scene. was An Eye of the World. And again, I've read this one like 3 times, and I think I've started it a 4th, so it's not surprising that everything is An Eye of the World, but it does make me really excited to read the rest of the books because I don't remember much of them. And I think the novella, New Spring or something, I haven't read at all. So that's exciting. I've heard you're supposed to read it after book 5. I don't know if that's actually true. I'll probably try to Google it before I move on. But yeah, I think the conclusion kind of, you've heard of a Sanderlanche, which is the end of a Brandon Sanderson book, is just like so many things happen. I feel like that's kind of what happens at the end of Wheel of Time books, especially this one as well. I'm not gonna be like, there's action throughout the whole thing in both of them, but specifically the ending is always extremely explosive. So I liked the Borderlands. I like Robert Jordan's ability to make every character flawed. So even the Borderlands, who are people who actually, you know, understand that Trollocs and Halfmen and all those things exist, and they fight the, you know, shadow all the time, even they have failings. Just the way you can tell by the way that they treat Mat, Rand, and Perrin and all this other stuff. I thought that was really cool. I like learning more about Lan. I think Lan and Nynaeve's relationship has developed, which is interesting. And I did not... Is that a spoiler? She's gonna say just the... Okay. So there are 2 characters in here who eventually develop a relationship, and it has happened at the end of this one, at least the start of the relationship has. I did not remember it happened that fast, and it causes one of those characters to hesitate during one of the battles. And like, I'm so torn because I like this relationship, but B, like, I don't think he should have hesitated because of who he is and what role he plays. But let's see here, what other thoughts do I have? It's all kind of a jumble because, you know, I finished it a little while ago and I'm still processing. But during one of the fights, Rand and Egwene, bless their little hearts, I was so irritated with both of them because they are fighting a large entity, which I won't say what they're fighting, but basically Egwene wants to run in, you know what I mean, and try to fight, and Rand stops her. And I'm so torn because, like, part of me is like, just because she's a woman doesn't mean she can't fight. Don't, you know, why stop her? And you're not going to stop Mat and Perrin and all this other stuff. But at the same time, Egwene is not ready to fight these forces. Like, she is not at that level. And so I'm really torn because I'm on both their sides, and I don't know. But yeah, now I'm just rambling. But yeah, loved this. Can't wait to start the next ones. Yeah, that's what I got. So then, because I finished the book before I got home, I started my next audiobook, which is Blackmail and Babinka by Mia P. Manasala. This is the 3rd book in a set of cozy murder mysteries. The first one follows our main character, Lila, and she and her boyfriend just broke up, and her business ended up failing. I believe that was a part of it as well. So she's basically forced to move back to her hometown in with her aunt and her grandmother and help out with their Filipino restaurant. And as with a lot of cozy murder mysteries, she gets dragged into an investigation, has to find the murderer. I believe in the first one, her ex-boyfriend gets poisoned at her aunt's restaurant. So she obviously has to clear her aunt's name, all this other stuff. So yeah, I am not very far. I'm only 34 pages in, but I really like the cast of characters. It's very diverse. It's very different. They're all unique. I love the descriptions of food. Both at the restaurant and another of the characters works at a coffee shop. So all the coffee descriptions, all that kind of stuff. And I believe in this one, they brought in a winery element with Filipino wine as well as some other regular kinds of wines. But yeah, I'm excited to be back with Lila and her crew, and we just discovered who was murdered in this one, so I'm interested to see where we go from there. But yeah, I don't really have many plans for tomorrow. I'll probably just hang out, maybe film some videos. I don't really know. My roommate is out with friends, so I have the place to myself, which is nice. But yeah, I guess happy Saturday. Happy Sunday morning, everyone. Last day of the vlog. I said I was gonna film videos today, and instead I laid in bed and then in my reading chair like a gremlin for probably 6 hours now, and I've watched TikTok. But I do have a reading update from last night. So I finished Desperate Measures. I did not like this book, but not because it's bad, just because it's definitely not for me. I am not the target audience for this book. I did like how they ended Jasmine's story and how they dealt with Ali. I really liked that, but yeah, I think smut is just not my jam unless it's mostly story with a little smut. Also, I assume it's common in books like this, but I don't actually know, because again, this is like my first real one I've ever read. They use the term daddy all the time, and I know that's normal, and that's fine, and you do you, but I hated it every single time she said it. But yeah, so I'm glad I read it, because now I know, because I hear about these books all the time on several YouTube channels I follow and stuff like that. So and my friend lent it to me. She was really excited. So I'm glad I read it, but I will not be continuing with the story. But yeah, so yeah, that was fun to experience, I guess, and now I know. So then this morning I started The Queen's Poisoner by Jeff Wheeler. I'm about 30 pages in, so I barely started. First of all, I just want to talk about how pretty, I have literally no idea where the camera is, this cover is. I think it's gorgeous. My sister got this book for me 2 years ago for Christmas. We do like a gift exchange every Christmas where we get each other books and read them on Christmas Eve together. So the premise of this is they are in a kingdom, and the king has rebellion in his lands. So one of the dukes is like sort of fighting for him, but they don't think that the king is going to stay on the throne. So it was like maybe just, don't fight too hard in case we need to throw in with the other people. Trying to play it politically correct. But the king, it does end up winning and ends up killing the duke's oldest son, who he has a hostage because the duke is as a traitor, but he needs the duke. So then the duke is forced to send another son to be a hostage, to be a ward, but to be a hostage. So we are following that son, Owen, who is at this time 8 years old, as he travels to the castle, and we just got to the castle. So I am, again, 30 pages in. I barely started. I'm a little bit sad because I don't like children characters. I don't dislike children characters. I don't like books that center on a children character as the main character. Like characters like Lift in Stormlight I like, but books like Assassin's Apprentice that follow a child exclusively, I'm not a fan of. So I'm hoping that, because the back says a boy will rise to manhood, so I'm hoping he grows up. Right now we're following an 8-year-old, and that's just not my jam either. So basically a couple of misses pretty much all throughout this vlog, other than Eye of the World, which I already read, so it feels like cheating. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep reading this one, give it some more try. We'll see. It is a series, so if I don't like it, I just won't continue. But we are working on getting our physical TBR down, and I've had this one for 2 years. So yeah, and that's all I have for now. Happy Sunday morning. Happy Sunday night. Son of a bitch, it's almost Monday. So let's see here. What am I reading? I did listen to a little bit of Blackmail and Babinga while I cleaned, but not quite enough to give an update. But I did read, it's way too hot. I was on page 30 and now I'm on page 110, so that's what, 80 pages? I read 80 pages of The Queen's Poisoner. I'm liking it a little more in the beginning. Unfortunately, it is still a child character, so I'm still not, like, loving it. And also, I know I compared it to, or I mentioned Assassin's Quest, or not Assassin's Quest, Assassin's Apprentice earlier by Robin Hobb. And I think this is just the YA version of Assassin's Apprentice. Like, it's a young boy in a keep who has no allies, who makes friends with the kitchen staff. There's a mysterious figure in a tower who knows poisons and takes the young boy under her wing. I don't know. Again, I'm only about a third way through, and there is 6 books in this series, so maybe it differentiates. And I was just talking about how I like Wheel Time because it's a Lord of the Rings derivative. But I also like Lord of the Rings and didn't love Assassin's Apprentice. So, I don't know. It's good. I'll definitely finish it. I don't think I'm going to DNF it, but I also don't think it's going to be my favorite book in the entire world. So yeah, that's really all the update I have. Yeah, I did finally get off my butt and I spent the morning cleaning. Does anyone have a glass stovetop? Because okay, recent is a strong word, but I moved into this house not that long ago and I had my first glass stovetop. And it turns out you need to use like a razor blade and special oven cleaner and all this other stuff. So that was an adventure to figure out today, but I think I got it. But yeah, that is my update for Sunday night. I will either wrap up the vlog or give you more reading update and then wrap up the vlog later tonight. But yeah, that's where I'm at for now. I've noticed I start every clip with okay, and I just tried to think of something else to say, but I don't. So, okay, it is Sunday night. I am wrapping up the vlog, and I read to page 199 on The Queen's Poisoner, so I just wanted to give my last final thoughts on that before I go to bed. So, it's still giving me Assassin Apprentice vibes, but not quite as much, mostly just the young boy and the poisoner. We are introduced to a new character, a young girl who is our main character's age, and now he has a friend, and I do like their relationship. I think it's cute. She's very outgoing and rambunctious, and he's very quiet. And we also got some information about the magic system, which is kind of cool. In this book, so it's like a water-based religion, so they call it the Fountain. And I guess there are people called Fountain Blessed who have magical abilities, and they charge those abilities and are able to use them. So we've been given one example of this, where the person who can do this magic basically insults people, and that's how he charges his gift, and then his gift is to control people's minds. So that's a little strange. We know one other character is Fountain Blessed, but we don't know what that character's power is or how they charge it or anything like that. So yeah, I will probably hopefully finish this tomorrow, and if not, definitely next week. But yeah, happy end of the week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.